you know what the best thing to do at 1:43 on a Tuesday morning is record the Streakers Island podcast. It is I, Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed circus runner, joined by Dan Moore, more for his money.
Woo!
And Chazzy, the black hat wearing CEO. We have a jam-packed show to get through here. All right, so we're going to go over the NHL playoffs so far, and we're really going to talk about the Battle of Ontario, the Habs, and the Oilers. Those are three series we really got to dig deep into.
Deep.
We're going to talk about some of the best NHL teams that didn't make the playoffs, because I think that's a very interesting thing to look into about teams that, you know what, we thought if they could have got here, could have done some damage. We're hoping we're going to touch base on some NBA playoffs, some OHL playoffs, and some OJHL playoffs. A lot of
Playoffs.
Playoffs? Didn't even know we won a game. But let's get right into those NHL playoffs. And I want to recap you guys on our bracket, just in case someone's asleep at 1:44 in the morning. So the Winnipeg Jets are up 2-0 over the St. Louis Blues. Yeah. Dallas and Colorado's tied at 1. Vegas is up 1-0 over Minnesota. The LA Kings won a thriller to take a 1-0 series lead over the Oilers. Leafs up 1-0 the Battle of Ontario. Battle of Florida starts tonight on Tuesday. Washington versus Montreal. Montreal loses a heartbreaker in overtime, and Carolina's up on the Devils 1-0. Dan, are you surprised about any of those series right now?
I gotta say, I am happy, but surprised that Winnipeg's up 2-0. That's a very tight battle series, and don't let that fool you, because St. Louis does not look like a wild card team. I'm going to make a wild prediction here. I said that series will go 7. I think the Blues will win both games at home and be a 3-game series.
Yeah, it honestly that's not impossible. The series that I'm kind of surprised about, to be honest, is I really thought the Carolina Hurricanes were going to kind of play half asleep in game 1, and they didn't.
No, not at all.
And Carolina looked really sharp. We're going to talk a little bit more of that series later in the show, but that's kind of my one I'm surprised about. Now, Chazzy, you were talking about how you thought Edmonton was potentially Canada's best hope of winning a cup this year. But with the goaltending we saw on Monday night, I don't know. Are you kind of surprised to see LA up in that series 1-0 after Edmonton storming back from 4-1 to tie it up at 5-5 with under 1:30 left?
That sounds like a pretty crazy ending to that game, and yeah, we'll see what kind of Stuart Skinner comes out in game 2.
Well, that has always been the question mark with the Edmonton Oilers, in my opinion, right? And actually, you know, we were going to talk about Ontario first, but let's get right into this Oilers versus Kings, because this is the most fresh. And this has always been my biggest concern when it comes to the Edmonton Oilers. So Stuart Skinner allowed 6 goals on 30 shots.
Yeah.
And I would say out of those 6, 4 of them he should have had.
Yeah.
Mediocre goaltending, Edmonton wins this game.
Yep.
Because, a lot of the other guys, they did their job. Connor McDavid going 3 assists. Evan Bouchard, 3 assists. Leon Draisaitl going an assist. Corey Perry going an assist. And you even got some depth scoring from Janmark and Hyman, who put up a goal respectively, right? So you got some depth. You got some depth players making something happen. But I do want to bring this up, and it's funny enough. We were finishing up watching the game, and I said to Dan with Edmonton tied to make it 5-5. Connor McDavid goes flying by the LA Kings bench, screaming at the LA players. Yeah. And I said, "You watch, LA's gonna win this game in regulation."
I was like, "What?"
And Dan thought I was crazy. My mom thought I was crazy. And then, sure enough, Edmonton makes a second mistake and leaves McDavid, Draisaitl, and Corey Perry out there after they've just played 4 out of the last 6 minutes of the third period.
That was a bad coaching move.
So they're totally
it's like they're going for the W or something.
At that point there, just put out your second line. At least they're fresh.
Going in overtime, yeah.
And then, sure enough, Philip Deneau from the LA Kings. Chazzy, I'm sure you're smiling a bit seeing Philip Deneau getting the game winner.
2 goals he got.
2 goals tonight. But again, off a goal that realistically Stuart Skinner should have had.
Oh, 100%.
So we talked about this in our NHL trade deadline preview show, that the Edmonton Oilers needed to do one thing. One thing, and that was to get goaltending. Don't get me wrong, depth is a big problem in Edmonton. Like, you look at guys like Arvidsson. I mean, Jeff Skinner had an assist, but like Arvidsson, Brown, Skinner, like these Nugent Hopkins didn't do anything that special for me. Only had 1 shot on net. Like, these are your depth players Edmonton apparently has that just aren't performing enough.
Mm-hmm.
But goaltending was the number 1 issue going in, and I'm not confident with Stuart Skinner going into game 2.
No.
They won't, but I would actually start Calvin Pickard in game 2 if I'm Edmonton.
I called it here on the island. I said they were going to start Calvin Pickard on game 1. I know they lost home ice during the stress, but let's face it, if Pickard wasn't in net, we might have lost the playoff spot completely. Like, they played that bad down the stretch.
Now, mind you, if you're Edmonton, you win the next game, you steal home ice going back to Edmonton. You're doing okay.
Yep.
But they got to be careful here because Kempe had a goal and 2 assists. Kuzmenko had a big game with a goal and 2 assists. Quinton Byfield, a goal and an assist. Philip Deneau, 2 goals. Kevin Fiala, a goal and an assist. And then you're seeing assists from Mikey Anderson, Drew Doughty, Vasav Gorchiev, Kopitar, and Trevor Moore. So you're seeing a lot more balanced scoring from the LA Kings.
Yes.
Like, you're seeing all their lines contributing, and I don't see Darcy Kemper putting up another mediocre game because he didn't have a great game either, allowing 5 goals on 25 shots.
Hey. Darcy Kemper played an amazing, let me do math for 39 minutes and 50 seconds. The last 5 seconds of the second period allowed that goal was, I can't even blame him. McDavid is Drysdale one-timer. I mean, we've seen that how many hundreds of times? But up to that point, he had a shutout, and he had some... Okay, I bet you only had like 10 or 11 shots on net in that point of the game, but he made some big saves that was 10 or 11, so...
You just like to see him stop the 5th goal that McDavid scored. Not McDavid's 5th of the game, but I mean the 5th goal the Oilers scored by McDavid.
It's McDavid, okay? Well, that's like momentum, I mean.
But what I mean is Darcy Kemper will have a better game moving forward. I think Edmonton's in trouble. I get everyone saying, oh, they just got to win the next game. But if they get goaltending like the way they did again tonight, they're screwed.
Yeah.
But I mean, overall, I will say that was a very exciting game to watch.
Oh, it was crazy. I was on the edge of the seat. Let's put it this way, okay? We got 1 TV and 2 games going on. Whoever did the scheduling was a moron. It was really bad this year, okay? Let's be honest. So instead of watching Colorado and Dallas in overtime, I was watching Edmonton and LA in regulation because it was that good of a game. Now, in the second period, I had a great nap. That's why I'm up here at 2 a.m. like nothing. So it was very boring for the whole game for the second period. But the third period was, boom, best hockey in the playoffs so far.
Yeah, I will say that third period was absolutely electric. But again, if I am the Edmonton Oilers, I am starting Calvin Pickard your next game.
Oh, I
don't feel Stuart Skinner is anywhere near good enough. And in the regular season, too, Calvin Pickard was the better goalie.
Better numbers.
He had better numbers. He just looked stronger.
And it's pretty sad that, no disrespect, an AHL goalie is a head goalie, but that's the picture of opinion of himself, so you got to do it.
Now, let's move on to the Canadiens versus Capitals. And this is going to be a weird one for me, but as much people will say, well, Edmonton lost by 1 goal. It was a tight game. You're saying Edmonton may be in some trouble. Montreal lost by 1 goal. It was a tight game. I think Montreal's got to be decently happy with this as much as it was a loss. Like, Chazzy, you as a Montreal Canadiens fan, Dan's yawning already when he hears Montreal Canadiens. He just wants to get them out of Ontario. But Chazzy, you as a Montreal fan, how are you feeling after game 1 against Washington, where you gave Washington everything you could?
The game that slipped away, that was definitely a winnable game coming back from down 2, and just came up short in overtime. OV he was in the right place at the right time with his pick, so. And that was his first goal ever in OT as an OT winner, they said. So
Is that crazy?
That's
I did not
crazy.
know
that
that.
is
About all the
crazy.
goals this man has scored. But I will say for Montreal, I mean, Lane Hudson putting up 2 points in a first career playoff game as a defenseman, that's impressive. Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki each putting in a goal. Sam Montembeault for his first playoff start, 3 goals on 32 shots, but that's good enough, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's goaltending that's giving you a chance to win.
He made a lot of big saves.
Now, Ovechkin and Dylan Strome really took over this game. Ovechkin with 2 goals and assists, Dylan Strome with 3 assists, and give Logan Thompson a lot of credit making 33 stops. The big question mark was goaltending for me going into this series for the Capitals, and Logan Thompson kind of just shut up all the critics. Hey, I'm healthy. Okay, why are you saying meh?
I disagree with you. Here's the reason why. Yeah, Logan Thompson made the extra save. All the credit to him. Good job. But going into the series forward, you can see ways how to beat Logan Thompson. Logan Thompson is very aggressive to play the puck. And there was a few times where he got lucky, where he went to play the puck or went to grab the puck, freeze the puck, whatever. And luckily, the Washington defense was right there to get it. But if I'm Montreal, I'm watching a lot of videos all night, basically, tonight. And looking at, okay, we were down. Montreal was down 2-0 with 10 minutes left in the third. They came back and tied it, puts it in overtime. Versus Montreal, Montembeault kept it very consistent through the whole game. So I think Logan Thompson is beatable. And I think of Montreal, I think I'm finding ways to beat him. And as soon as Liljegren is healthy, I'm putting him in.
Okay, then.
Come on.
Logan Thompson's been the better goalie for Washington all season. Logan Thompson's your guy. You're
Yeah,
very
okay,
happy
true.
he isn't
That.
injured. I don't. You know what, Dan? For that, you deserve
both
books for that comment.
Wow.
But if I'm the Montreal Canadiens, I'm actually feeling pretty confident because if you can you played your first playoff game for most of these guys, and it went relatively well.
Very well, yeah.
I wouldn't mean very well would be winning the game, but it went relatively well. Everyone played strong for the most part. Like your depth players need to find a way to contribute. I mean, I get Brandon Gallagher had 4 shots on net, but you got to find
he had a good game.
Like Gallagher, Evans, and Anderson to contribute here offensively.
I think the problem for Montreal was their bottom 6. I think they were very good defensively, but they haven't been forechecking, but they got to figure out how. Well, they got to figure out how they got to figure out how to get more involved offensively. I think.
So to get more offensively involved, they got to sneeze on Logan Thompson so he gets.
Yeah, see, because if you spread germs, he'll get sick. Oh.
That is not the island mindset.
You know, it's like the Battle of Ontario back in 2002 when the Ottawa Senators all had the flu and fell apart in the third period. And
then they all got on the exercise bikes. That was pretty fun.
That's why they didn't have enough exercise bikes.
But no, overall, I think Montreal's got to be feeling pretty confident. Like, Chazzy, do you still feel this is a winnable series for Montreal?
Oh, definitely, absolutely. Just get it just a slow start. They're banged around there in the first period and a half, but they held their ground, and yeah, you'll see them energized for game 2.
I gotta say, Ovi was back to the old Ovi because I was afraid because last year Washington got swept by the Rangers in 4 games, and Ovi was very quiet, 0 points in 4 games. Tonight he got the OT winner, as Chazzy said, first clear overtime goal. He got the first goal, classic Ovi, power play on the point, and he was hitting like a wrecking ball. It was like Ovi 10 years ago, so that's exciting to see.
All right, calm down, Miley Cyrus. But
I came in like a wrecking ball.
Make sure much as this part wasn't on the script tonight, I'm throwing this in here. Download the Streakers app and challenge any of us to this game on Wednesday night because we have the Canadians versus the Capitals for game 2. We had a tightly checked game in game 1. So who's winning game 2? Are we taking Montreal or Washington? Chazzy, I'm starting with you.
Oh, Montreal.
Dan?
I'm going off the board and taking Montreal.
You know what? I'm going to also take Montreal. I think Montreal's going to find a way to take this series tied at 1. For my prediction for this series to go 6 for Washington, I think Montreal's going to try to steal one in Washington. So, yeah, I think Montreal will find a way. I think they'll be a lot more confident than they were early in the game. Yeah, and if they can play the way they did in the third period for the whole game, they have a very good chance. Now I'm going to throw you random props that I'm thinking of on the fly because this is how we roll on the Streakers Island when I work 14-hour days. Will Dandinoff get his first career playoff point? Dan?
Yes.
Chazzy?
Yes.
Will Montembeault make at least 36 saves?
Yes.
No.
I'm going to say no to that one as well because I think Washington's going to play a lot better defensively. Will Alexander Ovechkin get 1 goal and 4 hits?
Yes.
He had 7 hits tonight. No.
Oh.
I'm also going to say no. I think I don't see him being able to do that every night. But remember to download the Streakers app. We'll throw in those props there, Chazzy. I'll make sure I'll actually send you the props so you remember them. Or I'll at least clip this for you and be like, hey, listen to my sexy voice. And then you'll know what the props are.
One-man show.
But make sure, again, download the app. The props are the biggest game changer. Earn points. Never lose. Always a lot of fun. Just like watching the Battle of Ontario.
Don't have to lose your house to have fun. Isn't that great?
Having fun isn't hard when you have the Streakers.
Hey, we forgot to say who's going to win game 2 in Los Angeles and Edmonton.
I don't care. Let's move on.
Okay. Sure.
Let's move on to the Battle of Ontario. Okay. So the Battle of Ontario kicked off on Sunday night. Very weird. This schedule has been very odd. But before we kind of get into everything, I kind of want to go over some bullet points for Toronto and Ottawa and see if you guys agree with me. So the difference makers for Toronto was goaltending, the core 4, and originally I put bottom 6, but I'm changing that to the 4th line.
What about the referees?
I thought all those penalties Ottawa got were pretty much earned.
Yeah, especially Craig Woodbury again.
Rick, and cross-checking Tavares in the head. They were hitting from behind. There was one penalty on Stützle that was a shove from behind.
Yeah,
I didn't love the call, but everything else, they were penalties.
Yeah.
But now here are my things for Ottawa. Penalty trouble.
Yep.
Mediocre goaltending. Not bad, but not great. Yeah. And the team seems
to
That's my biggest one here. Tim Stützle was 6 or 7 hits after the first period. Why? That's not his style of play. Right? And I think Ottawa was so excited to play a playoff game that they got a bit too excited. It's kind of like when you're a kid on Halloween and you get all that candy and you're excited, and then you eat all these like nougat bars, and then you miss the Reese's Pieces and the Twix, but now you're too sick to even eat them because you just ate a bunch of sugar from nougat bars.
No, that's because your parents limited you to candy. They said only 10 more, and you ate the first 10, then you find the good stuff. So once they go off, then you go back and eat the other good stuff.
But Chazzy, it's interesting you brought up the refs. So do you agree with Travis Green then? Because Travis Green said the Leafs were baiting on a lot of those calls and the refs were giving them too easily. So do you feel Ottawa didn't deserve to be in the penalty trouble they were in?
Not that type of game. There's a couple questionable calls, but
which calls then? Serious.
We'll see what happens on the next game on how much the whistle is used.
So which calls, though, could you think off top of your head? Like, if you're thinking the Stützle one, I agree with you there. But what other ones are you kind of saying you didn't love?
The Tavares. He got up.
He got cross-check in the head, and they changed it to a 2-minute. He's lucky he wasn't kicked out of the game.
I said it was a suspension blow.
No, it shouldn't have been a suspension, but it could have easily been a double minor or a 10-minute misconduct. Easy. You can't cross-check a guy in the head, even though we got back up. Now, I don't like that Tavares was allowed to play on the power play. I think if you're down with an injury and you got cross-checked in the head, for player safety concern, He should have
No,
been in the fire.
no. It's the
But it
playoffs.
wasn't
And he
really
wants...
an intent. There was
Yes,
no
what do you
intent.
mean it wasn't intent?
I don't know.
I am not
Oh.
intentionally blocking my camera right now. I didn't do that intentionally. I just put my hand in front of the camera. Whoa, whoa.
As I was saying, I would keep my mouth shut. I'm just saying there was a few questions.
No. We like a friendly debate on the island. That's the whole
I'm
point.
just saying, we'll see how this series ends because my phone will blow up with hate messages or whatever from all the Leaf fans. Or
I don't know. On the island, how many do we have more Leaf fans or Leaf haters on the island? Because we look at you, Chazzy, you're a Leaf hater. Shades are a famous listener. He's a Leaf hater. I don't know.
But
just not a fan.
Chazzy, I do agree with you that Ottawa will take less penalties in game 2. Because 5-on-5, Ottawa and Toronto were decently even.
Oh,
now,
for
part
sure.
of that was Toronto really didn't need to score 5-on-5, so they weren't really going for it. I felt Toronto came back defensively a lot. But in the goaltending battle, which just with the one everyone kind of going into this felt like Ottawa had the slight advantage. I didn't love the first goal from Stolarz, but overall, Stolarz played better than Omar.
Oh, yes.
Like, Stolarz was able to make big saves in big moments where Omar just wasn't. I think of the breakaway by Marner. And again, I'm not blaming Stolarz on a breakaway from Mitch Marner. But you feel like Ottawa needed a save there. Where Stolarz, when you think about going into the second period, Ottawa had a breakaway right off the hop with the 5 forward group out there for Toronto's power play, which I get when it works, but when it doesn't, it doesn't. And Stolarz made a big key save. So I think the goaltending was a huge difference in that game.
Let's just say it too. Again, I'm pretty sure it was Craig Whipley, whatever his name is. When that penalty kill for Ottawa, he went in there against Marner and he skated right into Stolarz, and I think that was on purpose.
No, it wasn't. He was just trying to score.
Ooh.
I think you and Kevin Biesca need to get off your high horses and realize that players can drive hard to the net. And again, though, this is something I've said about Craig Berube that drives me nuts. You're up 3 goals in the third period. Why are you running a 5-forward power play?
I was surprised by that too.
I don't agree with that decision there. If anything, I am putting out 3 forwards and then McCabe and Tanev because I don't want a shorthanded goal against me there. Exactly. I don't care about getting another power play goal. I'm more worried about not allowing a shorthanded goal because we've had some issues with the 5-forward group. Now, mind you, Ottawa did have their power play chances as well, and they just didn't capitalize. Yeah. Right? So I think special teams was a huge thing in that game. I think it'll be less of a thing tonight. I think there'll be less penalties tonight because I think Ottawa is going to be a little bit smarter. I think maybe they're going to take the bear hug instead of running the guy head first into the boards.
So I know you guys you weren't a fan of the lines before the game. How did you feel the game went for that set of lines?
I'm still not a fan. I'll tell you why. As Jacob said in his keys to the game, he did originally say bottom 6, and he changed his mind and said only the 4th line. That third line with Robertson was weak. Okay,
I thought Robertson had a great game, actually.
But, okay, how many times did he get knocked over? I lost count. Okay?
Actually, Robertson was like 3rd in hits for the team.
I know, but he kept getting knocked over.
However, the Leafs looks like they're playing musical lines after the win.
Really?
Just looking at the practice lines from Monday, you have Nyes, Matthews, Marner, Holmberg, Tavares, Nylander.
Why?
McMahon, Domi, Robertson, Lawrence, Lawton, Yarncroke. So you're seeing, and you know what? I'm not totally against this because I thought the second line looked a little flat 5-on-5. I get Nylander had multi-point game and so did Tavares. But your defense is staying the same. But interesting enough, Hawk and Paw did actually take practice in a full practice.
Hawk and Paw.
So I don't think Hakanpah's getting in unless someone else gets hurt or Benoit struggles, because I thought Benoit had another great game. And
well, maybe Benoit can't put his thumb back in next time.
True. But then also, too, Kempf Patches did practice. Anthony Stolarz did not. Berube's already came around like this is just a maintenance day, but do keep your eye on that because I think you really want Stolarz in the net versus Joseph Woll.
100%.
What kind of game are you guys thinking we're going to get in game 2? There was 12 penalties in that last minute.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's going to be physical, but a bit cleaner. I think the only way we'll see a bunch of penalties like that again is if one team gets on a big lead and it's just not reachable, which I don't see this game being another 6-2 type game. I think it's going to be a much tighter game. So let's get into this game then. Remember to download the Streakers app and play along with us. Whether you hate the Leafs, you love the Leafs, you don't care about the Leafs, maybe you know nothing about the Leafs. There's even a quick pick option in there, which is quite handy when Chazzy challenges me to sports I don't pay attention to. He wants me to pick who's going to win a golf tournament. I don't know half people are. I just think they're all going to suck. But let's get into game 2. Who's winning, Toronto or Ottawa? Dan, start with you.
I think it's going to be a very different game. I think Toronto's going to win this game. The reason why I'm saying that is like Toronto's going to win the 2 in Toronto. So same as Winnipeg, actually. And then Ottawa's going to win their 2 at home. It'll be a 3-game series to go game 7.
Chazzy, what are your thoughts here? Do you think Ottawa's going to swing back and get a game in Toronto, or do you think they're going to go back home down 2-0?
Even if they go back home down 2-0, I don't think this series is over.
No, I agree with you there.
It's a tough game. I'll say the Sens in a thriller. Either the Leafs are going to blow them out, or I'll go on the record and say, just for shades, Sens in a thriller.
Nice.
I will say, I do think if Ottawa wins, it'll be a tight game. I don't think Ottawa's going to blow out Toronto. I just don't see that happening with the roster Ottawa has. If you checked out our Sunday preview show and we really broke down the rosters between these two teams, Toronto does have the deeper roster. So if Ottawa to win this game, it's going to have to be a tight check game. I think Toronto's going to win this next one, but I agree it's going to be a nail biter type game, and it's going to be very, very close. But I do think Toronto's going to come away. However, I am not counting Ottawa out of this series, even if they go down 2-0 back to Ottawa, because they win their 2 games at home, which is very possible depending on how this next game goes. They're right in it. But now I want to go over some props. Will there be a goal in the first 8 minutes of the third period? And yes, I picked 8 minutes. Why? I actually like the number 8. I think it's a cute number.
It's Ovi's number.
Dan, what do you think? Is going to be a goal in the first 8 minutes of the third?
I don't remember what I said.
You said no.
Oh, okay. I'll stick to it. No.
Chazzy, what do you think?
Yes.
I'm also going to say yes, because I think that'll be the goal that kind of breaks the game open either way. Will Austin Matthews score 1 goal? Didn't score in game 1, but had a couple helpers, and I thought he looked really strong.
No.
You just don't like Matthews. I'm going to say yes. Chazzy, yes.
I'll go with you and I'll say yes.
Will Brady Tkachuk get 2 points?
If they're going to win, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, Chaz, I'm going to say, I think for you, if you're predicting that Ottawa's going to win and Matthews is going to score.
He's got to contribute big time.
Brady Tkachuk's got to put his money where his mouth is. He was running his mouth a lot in game 1, but didn't do much.
Brady sucks.
So I will not give you my answer on that one. You need to go into the sports booth, put in your picks to find out what I picked, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. But with my picks, I'm going to take it straight to the bank.
Oh, that's my teddy bear. Yeah.
Always have props here on the Streakers Island podcast. If you ever want to see different props, let me know what props you're thinking. I may even use them. We can have a Streakers Island prop on what props I'm going to use on the show. But
remind me of that a sports announcer from the Disney movie Seabiscuit when he did this thing.
I forgot about that.
Well, let's now move on to the Jets versus the Blues. And
I just want to say quickly about this Leaf at Battle Ontario series, okay? If you want to know more about our Sunday show, we talked about it for 48 minutes. So we got a lot of great info on there. You want to go back and listen to that.
I like to think about the future, not the past. But yeah, absolutely.
Well,
let's talk about the Jets versus the Blues. And if you had talked to me after game 1 versus after game 2, I may have been talking very differently. I was very concerned after game 1 for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuyck kind of looked iffy.
Yeah,
I thought the Blues at times really dominated game one.
they
The
did.
Jets had a big come from behind win, but it kind of reminded me of game one last year against the Avs. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah,
That might happen, and I have a completely different
boy.
opinion. Connor Hellebuyck played great. I don't think he's getting enough credit for how well he played. He made some big saves in big moments. Mark
did.
Scheifele is proving to be the best player in that series. If a goal and an assist.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Jets are going to, the way I'm seeing this now, I do not see the Blues winning this series.
Oh.
No, the Jets are winning this series. They have shown they can do it either way already in this series. Game 2 is the way I think they're going to have to play the whole playoffs. But game 1, even with their off night, they still won.
True.
What are your guys' thoughts on that so far this series? Jets are up 2-0. Are we surprised?
I am actually, because St. Louis does not look like a wild card team, in my opinion. If they played to 12-2-3 the last 15, if they did the whole season, they would have been way up there with Winnipeg, right? So, yeah, I thought this might have been a split after the first 2 games in Winnipeg. But I think St. Louis, I'll just say it now. I think St. Louis is going to win the next game, and I think it's going to go in 7 again. 2 in Winnipeg, 2 in St. Louis, 3-game series.
Every series is going to go to 7. It's like 7.
Not every series. No. Just the ones we're talking about at the moment. Maybe the next one I won't. I don't know.
So, Chazzy, how are you feeling about Winnipeg right now? You think they're really looking like a President's Trophy caliber team?
Oh yeah, if St. Louis was going to win one, it would have been game 1 to steal.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is sort of looking to either a 4 or 5 game, maybe 5. St. Louis may get one at home, and then the Jets take it in 5.
I agree with you there. I think Jets take it in 5 the way this is going. Now the Blues could win game 3, and I might have a completely different opinion. But as of right now, I don't really see because I think the Blues' best chance to steal a game was game 1. I felt game 2 was really the way the Jets want to play. They out-hit the Blues. They got more shot blocks. They didn't give the puck away. Only had 14 giveaways versus the Blues' 23 giveaways. Blues did manage to get a power play goal, but honestly, the way this is going, I'd be very concerned if I was a St. Louis Blues fan, and you have to win game 3. There are some series I'm like, when a team's down 3-0, it's going to be crazy. I'm still the believer of, I think there's a chance. If the Blues go down 3-0 against the Jets, they're done. May as well pack the bags.
Wow. Get the golf clubs out.
Get the golf clubs out. But let's quickly touch on the Canes versus the Devils first game. Number 1, this game was boring.
Yes, it was.
The Devils didn't show up until the 3rd period. If it wasn't for Jacob Markstrom, they would have lost like 8-1.
Yeah.
Taylor Hall had a great game for them with a couple assists.
I called that one.
Stankoven, the guy that they got in the Rantanen trade, he had a big game with 2 goals.
Yeah, I was a surprise.
But if I'm the Devils, I'm very disappointed with how
you're all in a yachting of this series.
I'm just not happy with how with how they played. I feel the same way about the Wild Night series. I thought that game was a snooze fest.
Oh, 100%.
Like I went to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
That game was boring. The Knights won 4-2, but I never felt the Wild were in it. The same way I feel with this Canes versus Devils. I felt the Devils were never really in it. They had a better 3rd period. I'll give them that. But overall, I really thought the Devils were going to come out a lot stronger. I think this is one of the Devils lose game 2, they're done.
Do you know what the Devils looked like? They looked like the Leafs of last year. You can tell they're both.
No, I wouldn't say that at all, because at least the Leafs last year, you had guys stepping up at moments. You look at William Nylander when he came back into the lineup, right? He had a goal in every game he was in. Nylander now has goals in 4 straight playoff games. I didn't see anyone from the Devils who really tried to take that game over.
No, that's true.
Like that New Jersey team just looked bad.
Yeah.
And then you have Markstrom slashing his own player in the nuts. That was hilarious.
Oh, that was painful.
I don't know if you saw that, Chazzy, but Markstrom was trying to slash one of the Carolina players. And he missed and hit Cody Glass in the nuts, his own teammate. So not good. That's a bad game. But again, in our sports booth, do you see the Devils winning game 2. Do you think they're going to turn this around? Remember, Shoutout and Keefe in Toronto, as much as they had some bad games, usually when the Leafs ever had a bad game, they had a good game the next one. So who's winning game 2? Challenge me in the Streakers app. Challenge me, because I say the Devils are going to win game 2 to make this a series.
What? No.
Yes. Why not?
No, I think.
Oh, do you see
I
this?
think Carolina could sweep this.
Chazzy, what are you thinking? Dan's calling a sweep right now after one game. Do you think the Devils
definitely? Yeah, the Canes look really, really good. They had 45 shots.
So you don't think the Devils are winning game 2?
No.
Well, challenge me.
See?
Okay? Challenge me.
I don't think every series is going a 7.
However, I have the best winning percentage out of the three of us. So clearly I'm right and you guys are wrong.
Ooh.
But again, quickly.
Your mom is better than you. Oh!
Mama didn't raise no fool, at least for this one. The other one beside me, yeah, I don't know. But Mama didn't raise no fool with me. But Wild Golden Knights, I don't know if you guys agree. I don't really think there's much to say about game 1 there. I thought it was boring. The Knights won, but I thought the Wild looked flat. I'm going to say this right now. I really wish that was Calgary in there and not the Wild. I think Calgary, at least they'd be putting up more of an interesting fighting if they were losing.
I will say, when you look at Montreal and you look at St. Louis and you look like Ottawa, they don't look like wild card teams. Minnesota does look like a wild card team. It was pathetic. And I'll just say it. I think that could be a sweep as well.
Dan seems to either think a series is going to go 7 or it's done before.
Come on, give me some credit here.
Like, no, but like, yeah, it's going to go 7. This series is done. Go home, you bums. Quickly to touch base on it as well, the Stars and Avalanche are tied at 1. I thought the first game, the Stars looked absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
However, game 2, it seemed like looking just at the box score here, they got a lot more of a balanced lineup. Ottinger had a big bounce back game, only allowing 3 goals on 37 shots. Sam Steele with 2 assists. Oscar Beck with an assist. Jamie Benn with an assist. Colin Blackwell the game goal. Dandinoff and Harley with the other 2. But I got to say here, nothing from Duchesne. Nothing from Rantanen. This is concerning. Only an assist from Wyatt Johnson. Goal from Tyler Seguin. But I'm a little concerned if I'm Dallas. That 2 games in, Rantanen's done nothing. But you got the split you needed. It might not be pretty, but you got the split. So now if you can just split in Colorado, you're right back in this series. But Colorado also, I think they got to be feeling pretty good.
Oh, yes.
I did think, though, I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I thought the last goal that Blackwood let in, he should have had in overtime.
Yeah, I think so. But
I think for what you're paying Blackwood, he's doing what you want him to do. I thought he looked great in game 1.
Yep.
Yeah, that's definitely this series, though, if I'm going to be honest with you guys, now, mind you, I didn't see much of game 2, but game 1, I was really disappointed. I was expecting a way better game.
Yeah, it was.
Rantanen logged just over 26 minutes in that game 2.
And he was physical. Like, he threw some big hits.
But that's not what you brought him in. You didn't bring him in to hit people. You brought him in to score.
I know. I'm just saying, like. And
but yeah, that's a lot of minutes, though, Chazzy. So maybe
he's -2 in game 1, -1 in game 2. So
he had a better game in game 2 by the sounds of it, and he did have 3 shots. So I mean, Lyubushkin had 4. So I don't know what that tells you. But we'll see what happens in game 3 with that series, because that is a series that everyone feels whoever wins that series is probably winning the cup. And quickly, a touch base game 1 between the Panthers and the Lightning is today at 8:30.
Well, wait, you didn't ask our predictions about the Colorado Dallas.
Like a Thomas Harley played over 35, almost 36 minutes in game 2.
Yeah, he's an amazing defenseman. I know when I picked him in the 4 Nations, I'm like, what are they doing? But after watching him, I'm like, holy cow, he's a good defenseman.
Oh, he's their best defenseman, right? So, I mean, he's going to get the big minutes. He kind of is the one that replaced Tanev when they lost Tanev to free agency to Toronto. But Dan, the reason why I'm not asking us every prediction is because if people want to know our predictions, they got to jump in the sports booth on the Streakers app. And we can't do every game of every moment of every life. I don't want to be up till 6 a.m.
Okay.
But just as a quick reminder as well, yes, Dan, you have a Streakers hat. It's lovely. But we also do have Florida and the Lightning starting their series tonight at 8:30 p.m.
What a weird time to start.
Like I said, though, I think that's going to be, truthfully, I think that's going to be that's going to be at the Battle of Ontario. That's going to be a really physical, hard-fought series. Could really go either way. But I want to move on now as I'm yawning. But I'm yawning for my OHL needs. Like, I need it. I need Bry Pup back in my life. And you know what? Bry Pup, he delivered. And Chazzy's calling you out a little bit in this one.
Ooh.
And he's calling Dan out. He never calls me out because he knows not to mess with the self-proclaimed sports analyst. So
and the editor.
In the OHL playoffs, and something that had been going on that had been some surprises. Let's take a listen from Bry Pup.
Bry Pup here with an update on the OHL Playoffs. And the Astros Generals won 4 straight to take their series 4-2 against the Brantford Bulldogs. And the Kingston Frontenacs forced a Game 7 in their series against the Barrie Colts with an overtime win in Game 6. Meanwhile, in the West, the Kitchener Rangers did something I don't think Dan could have even predicted, where they forced a Game 7 after being down 3 games to none. Should be 2 very exciting Game 7s, almost just as exciting as Chelsea getting a glass of milk. Back to the boys at the Strickers Island podcast.
You know what? Chazzy, are you even drinking milk tonight?
No, I had it. Well, I had a coffee and then I'm drinking water now, but
Man,
I'm definitely going to go get a nice cold glass of milk after that.
And I got to say, I was absolutely stunned when I saw Oshawa won 4 straight against the Bulldogs.
Yeah.
I really thought that series was going to go 7. Even when the Bulldogs went up 2-0, that's fine. Oshawa went there to an Oshawa, then it'll flip-flop.
You pick every series 7 games. Blah, blah, blah. You either pick 7 or you pick a sweep.
That's not true.
No,
I picked
5 or
1,
6.
6, so get wrecked. But we also have the Kitchener Rangers, who have won 3 straight over the Windsor Spitfires.
Wow.
What is happening in Windsor?
Yeah,
I mean, number one, just you're in Windsor in general, so you're not having a great time. I'm kidding, Windsor. I kid. Windsor's a great city, but I do look at this series, and if I'm Windsor, I'm really nervous here because if you lose this series, that's terrible. It'd be up.
Yeah, it's an epic fail if you're Windsor.
And I mean, you look at it too. It's like Windsor won the first one 5-1, second one 5-1, third game 6-3. Then Kitchener shuts them out game 4. Then Kitchener wins 5-2 game 5. Then they shut them out game 6.
Wow.
This is anyone's game at this point, guys. Like, I could actually see Kitchener pulling off the reverse sweep.
I think they could. I think all the plus is on Windsor here. Remember, I did predict Windsor versus the Knights for the finals of the West. And now all the pressure is on Windsor. Like, if Kitchener loses, oh, well, who cares? They're down 3 games to none. He puts them to a game 7.
And I think, too, like, I wonder if Windsor was maybe just looking ahead and thinking about London when they were up 3 games to none. London already beat the Erie Otters in 4. They're like, okay, we're going to play London. Let's get this over with. And then Kitchener's like, no. Hold my milk. We're going to come back here, and we're going to make this a series. And they have. Same thing to the Kingston Frontenacs, right? Barrie took a 2-0 series lead. Then Kingston came back and won their 2 games at home. So far, it's been the home team have won every game. So in theory, Barrie tonight against Kingston, if that trend goes, Barrie can get the dub.
W.
But I hate saying it, whoever wins that series between Barrie and Kingston is going to have a hell of a time taking down Oshawa, because that Oshawa team just looks damn near unbeatable right now.
Chazzy called that right from the beginning. Why on trade deadline, actually.
You did, Chaz. Yeah, I remember that. And Oshawa, the games they're winning pretty handedly. Like, they beat to win 4 in a row to take them out in 6. They beat Brantford 7-2 in game 3, 4-2 in game 4, 3-2 in game 5. So that was a close one, but then 4-1 again in game 6. So whoever wins between Barrie and Kingston is going to be gassed. and they're going to have troubles against that Oshawa team. So I want to ask you guys, though, what are our final 2 rounds going to be in the OHL? Oshawa versus either Barrie or Kingston. Who do you have winning that Game 7 between Barrie and Kingston?
Barrie.
Chazzy?
Yeah, I'll stick with the Colts.
I say the Colts, too. I think the Colts will get it done. Now, Windsor versus Kitchener. Is Kitchener pulling off the reverse sweep, or is Windsor finding a way to get this series done?
I'm going to go off the board. I'm going to say Kitchener is going to pull the reverse sweep.
Chazzy, what do you think?
By those box scores you just mentioned, sounds like they got the goaltending and the momentum, so they could pull off the reverse sweep.
I'm going to give it to Windsor here. I think Windsor's going to wake up and be like, "Oh crap, we really want to play London next round." I think Windsor gets it done.
Nice.
But remember, hey, you can play along for junior hockey and any of your grassroots sports in the Streakers app. And speaking of junior sports, I want to move on to the Buckland Cup in the OJHL, where we saw the Trenton Golden Hawks get a big win against Milton in the Madhouse in Milton, 3-2.
Wow.
Got to say again, over 1,200 fans in the rink. It was rocking in Milton yet again. And Milton did what they've been doing all season, and that's getting the penalty troubles. You can't give Trenton 9 power plays.
9?
9, yes.
That was worse than Ottawa blow.
Now, mind
9.
you, Trenton also gave Milton 5 power plays. So both teams are very undisciplined.
Well, maybe the referee want to be the first star.
Oh, my gosh. I don't want to get into the ref officiating too much, but there were some calls.
They wanted to be called up to the Battle of Ontario.
Yeah, exactly.
There are some calls I didn't love, but at the end of the day, Milton's got to learn how to play on that line without crossing it. And they did not seem to have that. Now, however, am I counting Milton out of this series? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Where's Game 3? Back in Trenton?
Game 3 is back in Trenton. But Milton played much better this game than they did in Game 1. Milton led for the majority of this game.
Wow, interesting.
Trenton did not lead until they scored their 3rd goal. They were always coming from behind and tying it.
Oh, interesting.
So, and Carter Bickle again had a very strong game for Milton. You know, he allowed 3 goals on 30 shots, but he made some crazy saves.
Hey, come on. Bickle's got to win it. It's the Bickle Cup. They named the cup.
It's the
just
Buckland
after him.
Cup. And Ryan Sandborn for Trenton, though, you're really seeing why this guy's one of the top goalies in the league. But if Milton loses Game 3 on Wednesday night, they're done, in my opinion. If they can win Game 3, they got a legitimate shot still of winning the Buckland Cup. Either way for Milton, first time ever getting to the Buckland Cup in their franchise history, so give them some credit there.
So do you feel next year with the open borders and everything that this league sort of the teams will start to flip on their head? Like you'll see the bottom teams start coming up?
Well,
Like,
that's the
a whole
interesting
different league
thing. A
next
lot
year?
of people are worried that we're going to see less talent in the OJ. I think we're going to see more because you're going to see guys that weren't getting any ice time in the OHL willing to come here because they know they can still go the NCAA route after. And now you can have guys being called up from the OJHL to the OHL in the middle of the season where you couldn't have that before. So I think the OJHL is just going to keep getting better and better because there's a lot of talented players in this league. Like, actually, one player you guys should watch if you can make it to the game Friday. Watch out for Luke Johnson from Milton. This guy is a tank.
Yeah.
He is very fun to watch. He's number 21 on the team. He's 6'2", 207 pounds as a teenager.
Wow.
This guy's a tank. In 16 games in these playoffs, he's got 26 points. He's been one of the best players in the entire league.
Wow. Good for him.
So just to say about, but that's a guy that I think can probably make an OHL team, right?
Well,
so when he's played in Graham McCauley, for example, the team's captain, he's played some OHL games this year.
So here's a question for you, Jacob, since you're kind of an expert at the OJHL stuff here. We got, Chazzy, I do NHL, Blype up those OHL, and Jacob does OJHL, just let everyone know kind of thing. So you said these guys get called up to the OHL. Now, how exactly does that work? So let's say a player gets drafted to the OHL and they're not good they can, as soon as they're not good, but if they get drafted to OHL, they don't have a spot. They then go to an OJHL team, or does an OHL own an OHL team, kind of like the Leafs own the Maoris? Like, how does it all
so the
work?
way this works is players can be in both leagues. So you can be drafted by an OHL team and play in the OJHL, like Milton's super rookie Ryder Cali, 16-year-old kid who just dominated the league this year, who was originally a Sault Ste. Marie draft pick, then was traded to North Bay, and he's committed to Harvard, I believe. But now with the new rules in the OHL and NCAA, a guy like Ryder Cowie can play a couple years here in Canada and then go to the NCAA route, where he couldn't do that before. So the open border thing, I actually think in the long run is going to help. But no,
yeah, I think it's interesting.
They don't own the team. No, it does not work the way it does in the NHL versus the AHL. But
that was a good question.
Let's get out of playoff hockey a little bit. I want to look at, teams in the NHL that didn't quite get the job done. If you're looking in the next season, who is one team that you think could actually get the job done next season? I want to start this.
I know you do.
I'm going to say the Calgary Flames.
I knew it, you guys.
I feel they are one player away. One good player away from being a playoff contender. You have the goaltending, you have the defense, you have the heart, you have the coaching.
Leadership.
I really feel the team's right there. You go out and you go to a guy like Ehlers, who is rated as the second best player available going into free agency. He's only at a $6 million cap hit right now. So be like, look, we'll give you $9 million.
9.
Yes, give him $9 million. Calgary's gonna have the cap space. You put Ehlers on a line of Kadri and Huberdeau and just really get this team rocking.
9. Wow.
Okay, you gotta remember, Ehlers had 24 goals, 39 assists for 69 points. Not playing a top line. You put him on a top line with a guy like Nazem Kadri.
Oof. I think that's a lot, but look, you do you.
But Chazzy, if you're looking at the NHL teams that didn't make the playoffs, like your Calgarys, your Vancouver, Columbus, Islanders, Philly,
keep going south.
Teams, pardon?
Keep going south.
No, who do you see as those teams that you think could maybe make that jump next year to be a playoff team?
I'm going to say Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, okay. That's off the board.
I don't think you're out to lunch there. They played spoiler a lot towards the end of the year. They got a lot of young talent. If you can maybe move on from Gibson and give Deltos the net, clear that $6 million in cap space to bring in a really good player. Maybe go.
What's wrong with Gibson?
He just doesn't want to be there.
Oh,
and
why not? California.
A couple years. But yeah, Chaz, I don't think you're out to lunch at all saying the Anaheim Ducks. Dan, you seem surprised. So who's your playoff team, your non-playoff team, you think could be a playoff team next year?
Well, say Anaheim's got some young players, and Alex Cahone's a great leader, so I kind of see it. That Gauthier too, my God. Well, Jacob Central, Chazzy's down south. I'm going to go out west. I'm going to say Vancouver, as I know it sounds pretty crazy considering how bad of a year they had. I think the key is Vancouver needs to get rid of the drama. And if I'm Vancouver, it sounds nuts. I'm shopping Pettersson. Because obviously Pettersson did not work. And the reason why I say Vancouver is because of Quinn Hughes. I was never really a Quinn Hughes fan before this year. But what he did, not going to the Four Nations because he wanted to be 100% healthy as a captain to get his team into the playoffs. I know he didn't get it done, but he literally put that franchise in that city on his back. And I think if you get rid of Pettersson and give Hughes the dressing room and give Hughes better offensive pieces to play with, I think with just Hughes alone and the goaltending, rather with Demko or the other one, Lankinen, regardless which one you go with, you got two great goalies. So give Hughes a room, pick one starting goalie, get rid of Pettersson, and bring in some big offensive pieces with the Bucks. I think you're going right back to the playoffs again.
Mind you, I would say keep Pettersson and go a year with no drama in Vancouver, have a healthy Demko and a strong Lankinen. Yeah, I think Vancouver could be a playoff team. But I find it interesting none of us took the Nashville Predators.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Where the Predators on paper should be a really good team.
I was going to pick Calgary, but I didn't want to upset you.
And let's be honest, they were bad this year. Decent at home, 20-18-3, but on the road, 10-26-5.
Yeah.
So why didn't we take I could see Nashville being a team that does that. And another team I want to bring into the mix here is the Utah Hockey Club.
That was what I was thinking about saying.
I think they're close.
Yeah,
I think if you pick up a good free agent, maybe make a trade just to bolster that defense a little bit.
Yeah.
I think you got a team. But I don't see Chicago. I don't see the Sharks as much as the Sharks have some good young talent. I think they're still probably 3 years away. Seattle, I don't know. I'd like to see a season with Jordan Eberle healthy before I really make an opinion. I'll be honest. I think Columbus was playing above expectations. I think they might take a step back next year. But Chazzy, you were going to say something, so go ahead.
Sorry, back to the Canucks. How much of with Tocchet not being renewed, how much did that affect what he said at the press conference about the drama that was happening throughout the year and how he would like a JT Miller in his lineup like anybody would?
Yeah.
And sort of a little bit calling out Pedersen. A little bit, I
think that's exactly why they're not extending Rick Tocchet. I think they're.
I agree. I think we need him gone.
Why are you stirring the pot now?
Yeah.
Oh, so you really? So there is a little bit of truth to that.
Yeah, there is. I honestly,
100%.
I honestly think that's the main reason why they didn't bring him back, because I thought he did a decent job coaching the team.
Because he was intended to come back before that, no?
Yes,
everyone thought he was. A lot of the players that they wanted him back, including their captain Quinn Hughes. But I think those comments and the comments when they made that crazy comeback win, it's good for the future, I guess. I think those two comments were kind of made the team just thinking, no, we need to go a new direction.
Bring back Bruce Boudreau. The fans loved him.
Oh, that will never happen. I think they'll go get Bausma, who was just fired from Seattle, who had some success in Pittsburgh.
Well, at least it wouldn't be a far move for him. Just pack up a U-Haul.
Exactly. But I also find it interesting none of us picked the Rangers.
Well, I was going to say quickly of Nashville. I didn't pick Nashville because I think we're in cap hell, to be honest with you. Okay. I think those contracts they signed to big money to didn't work out. You can't really move them. And I don't think now they're a year older, I don't think they're going to get any better.
I'll go the opposite of that. I find with these big contracts, you sort of have that lull first year. And I just find that I think I had Nashville back a couple weeks ago when we did it at the end of the year. Nashville.
You did. Yes, you did.
But yeah, no, I think Nashville, there's too much firepower, too much money in that lineup. They'll come back. They just had a slow start. They just could never get it going this year. And yeah, them and the Islanders could be another one that we never talked about.
I was surprised Jacob didn't pick the Islanders. He was so
the Islanders, I think it depends what they do in free agency. I just really think Calgary. I think Calgary was the best non-playoff team in the NHL.
Well, they were the closest to making it by 1 point.
Closest to make it, tied in points, came down to regulation wins, which again I think is just ridiculous.
And
but
you were talking about the Rangers. What are you talking about?
The Rangers, I feel depends what they do with Panarin with the SA accusations, and if Durkin can get back to form. But I could see the Rangers being right back in the mix in the NHL and being a contender again next year. I really do. I think this was a fluke year. But there's some other teams, like I don't see Philly doing anything. I think Boston's going to be terrible. For some reason, Buffalo just can't seem to figure it out, even though they got all these high-end players, including Tage Thompson, one of the best scorers in the NHL. And again, I don't see Chicago or San Jose. I think Chicago and San Jose are still 3 to 4 years out.
I think with the Rangers, I think they need a captain after trading away Jacob Trouba. So if I was the Rangers, I would just give JT Miller the captaincy right now. Make it his room and go forward with that. I think the Rangers could do very well.
I don't know. Time will tell with them, but let's move on to the NBA playoffs quickly. And we're seeing a lot of things that I expected.
We'll jump in. Ha ha ha.
Seeing a lot of things I expected to see, like the Nuggets and Clippers are tied 1 game apiece. I'm not surprised about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a tight series with Kawhi.
Pacers are up over the Bucks, but that's just 1-0. Knicks and Pistons are tied at 1. That's kind of what I expected. Celtics dominated the Magic in the first game, and I think that series will be pretty easily handed. The Cavaliers up 1-0 over the Heat. But there's 2 surprises I have. I'm shocked the Lakers lost game 1 to the Timberwolves the way they did.
Yeah, holy boy.
I really thought with LeBron and Luka, like this team had the skill to do it.
But is LeBron banged up?
Pardon?
Is LeBron banged up?
He's always banged up. He's old.
No, I know he's always questionable on the pregame spreadsheet, but is he legitimately banged up?
But I mean, then you look at a guy like Steph Curry, who's around the same age. I mean, he doesn't play as physical as the game as LeBron, but he dominated game 1 of this series, giving the Warriors a 1-0 lead over the Rockets, the 7th seed over beating the 2nd seed so far.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know this Timberwolves team. That's a tough squad.
Yeah. It is. It's like, I mean, they got a lot of talent. I think the Lakers, besides Doncic and LeBron, I don't think they have much else. But
Anthony Edwards is on a mission, so we'll see we'll see what happens in this series. But I'm with you there, playoff Luka, like he's a different beast.
He's got to get going though for the Lakers. If you can get him and LeBron rolling, they can take down any team. If they're just playing okay, they don't stand a chance. I think you need to completely take over the series if you're those 2 guys. But are either one of you surprised about any of those series, or is that kind of where we were thinking they'd kind of be at?
Well, call me crazy here.
You're crazy.
Maybe I deserve a book. We'll see. But I find in the NHL, the first round of playoffs are the best round of playoffs. Mm-hmm. In the basketball, I think it's the complete opposite. In basketball, I think you have a lot of 4-game sweeps and you knock off, because how many teams in basketball that make the playoffs are under 500. And you start seeing those under 500 teams really get slaughtered in the first round of the playoffs. So I think I'm surprised that some of those series are like tied 1-1. And I think we're going to see a couple more series go like 2-0 and 4-game sweeps versus hockey. I think some of those series could really go 7.
I think we'll have a clearer picture on the NBA first round aspect by our Thursday episode.
Yeah, for sure.
In basketball, the West is so much stronger than the East.
Oh, it's not even
close. Oh, yeah.
I think that's what you're talking. Like the East, you'll see probably a couple sweeps here. Yeah. The West, I don't know. It's going to be a tough one.
Well, that's really the way I carry from the 7th team won at the game. Yeah. So, yeah, but the East is very weak. And you look at the Raptors, way under 500, and they almost made the play-in. I think we were behind by, 5 games? So.
And I mean, they were in it mathematically until like the last week and a half, right?
That's what I mean. So
you're definitely right. The East is definitely a lot weaker. But I want to move on to the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays got slaughtered on Monday night, 7-0 over the Astros.
Yeah, that's sad to see. That's not going to help to get to a 98 wins, I predict.
Which this is now a 3-game losing skid for the Jays. This is kind of the Jays team I was more expecting going into this series, and I hate to be Debbie Downer, but
you're just Debbie on the Streakers app.
No, she's terrifying.
Yeah, she's a scary dude. Woman, I should say.
But I don't know. I just this is more kind of what I thought the Jays would look like this year. They just didn't look good, like straight up. Like, what are your guys' thoughts on the Jays? Like, Dan, are you still optimistic?
Oh yeah, dude. I gotta stay to I came up with crazy prediction 98 wins. I gotta stick to it, bud. So maybe there's some drama of the Bosset contract once that gets done. Maybe be a clear picture. And the fact that the Jays are up to 12 wins and the bats haven't even got going yet. So once you get the bats going, the pitchers won't settle in. I think you're going to see a bit of a dip now. And then I think by like the beginning of May, we're going to see them get right back up again.
I don't know, Chazzy, if you're more leaning towards Dan or if you're like me, because I still don't see the Jays being that solid of a team this year. I think they had some easy opponents, and now that they're getting some tougher opponents, you're seeing what this team really is.
Yeah, actually the pitching's held up a little bit better than I thought. Obviously, the injuries could mount.
Yeah,
having Scherzer out after the first game, obviously that doesn't I don't know, momentum, right? You're hoping for this team, and I just feel they let Vladdy, that signing, go way too long. You could have done that before the season.
Yeah,
Got a little bit more different momentum. You had a little momentum coming out of that signing. Now we're talking like Morforth said, we got the Bow contract over our head. So it's, I don't know, it's just we'll see what happens here. But all you can do is hope, and we'll see what May brings. We'll see what May brings for the Bats. See if they can start warming, and we'll talk about it at the end of May on where they stand.
I agree with you. I think around the time the CFL preseason starts, mid to late May is around the time we'll have a much better picture of the Blue Jays on where they're at. But I do want to talk about game 2, which is tonight against the Astros. I think the Jays need a response here. I don't know if they'll get it, but I want to ask you guys, who's winning game 2 of this mini series, the Astros or the Jays? Dan, I'm assuming you're taking the Jays.
Jays and 98 wins, baby. Win 13. Let's go.
Craig, what are your thoughts there?
Roll the dice. Jays.
I'm going to say Astros. I personally think the Jays are getting swept this series.
Oh.
But let's go to my props here. Will Chris Bassett get at least 7 strikeouts and 87 pitches thrown?
I'm going to say yes. Why not?
You're saying yes. Chazzy, what are you thinking?
No.
I'm not going to tell you. You got to get into the app and check for yourself. But will Vladdy Guerrero Jr. get at least 2 RBIs?
Yes, he's pretty good at hitting the RBIs. He had over 100 last year. He'll get 100 again this year.
Remember, they were shut out. They were shut out in game 1 in this series. Chazzy,
yeah, okay, he's got to get something going.
What are your thoughts,
He'll
Chazzy?
the gap. He'll have a double with 2 ribbies.
Yeah.
I will say yes to that. I think Vladdy will have a bounce back games. He didn't look very good in the last one, and I think the Jays will score some runs, and Vladdy's going to be a part of it. But make sure you download.
Chris Bassett has 31 Ks in 23 innings. Wow.
Oh, wowzers!
He's a good pitcher.
It is time for us to sign off. But before we do, Dan, what is your mindset for this episode?
Well, I just got to give everyone credit because we're almost 3 a.m. here. So if you're up now, you can, in 10 minutes, you can check your bank account, see if your paycheck went through, which is pretty awesome. But anyway, my mindset is we're talking Washington and Ovi. And I saw an amazing article I got leaked out that Ovechkin didn't want to get leaked out, but, the power of social media nowadays it did. And it's so amazing. I thought I would share it with you. This shows how good of a guy he is off the ice as well. So as we know, when we broke the goal record, he had many requests for interviews, including Jimmy Kennel, and he denied all of them, even Joe Rogan, and said, what? I'm focused on my team to going into playoffs and winning again. So I'm not taking time in doing interviews or talking about my record, it's done, it's broken, yada, yada, yada. However, one person did reach out to Ovechkin, and it was a little boy in Pittsburgh, out of all places, the biggest rivalries of the Caps, and he's in the hospital right now fighting brain cancer. And his one wish was to have a phone call with Alexander Ovechkin because he's his favorite player and he loves him. And he knows he was busy, so all he wanted was a phone call. Well, what happened was instead of doing all those interviews that requested Ovechkin took a private jet and got to Pittsburgh a day before the rest of the team and actually went to the hospital and visited this kid in person. Wow. And he played hockey video games with him in the hospital. He gave him a game used stick, which, as we know, is worth a lot of money right now. He gave him a game worn jersey, and the family of this nice boy were just in tears. And he spent a couple hours with him, and he really made this kid's life. And when the gig leaked out, and he asked Ovechkin says, "We talk about the fight that we have on the ice every night," and he says that's nothing in comparison what kids like this young man does every day for his life. So those are the fights that we have to support, and that's why I wanted to use this as the mindset. Like, yeah, we'll get frustrated about little things going on here and there, or sports or points or whatever. But any day, we got to be thankful for our health because there's a lot of people worse off than what we are. So, yeah, that's the mindset.
Very, very great point, Dan. I do want to say, too, I think another thing to take away from that is if you can take time out of your busy schedule to help to, make someone else's day better, go ahead and do it. That's something Ovechkin did in that moment, and I've heard other athletes bring that up as well, that they can just show up and make someone's lives better, but you can do that to your family and friends. You have a family member or a friend that's going through a rough time. Just by showing up, you're making a difference.
100%.
Because I don't know if you guys have saw the ice bucket challenge is resurfacing, and that's all about for mental health. So if you want to dunk your head in some water for a good cause, Chazzy, I feel like you would do the milk bucket challenge.
I might smell a bit.
Where it's just, well, it's not sour milk.
I was going to say, with sour milk and breast milk, it might be pretty bad.
Anyways, on that bombshell, we got to go. Thank you very much for joining the Streakers Island podcast. Looking for more Streakers Island content, make sure you follow us on all the social medias on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok are our main ones. Plus, want to have all the fun. Download and follow our live shows on Twitch. We've been going live every Saturday, hopefully keeping that schedule up. But you want to have fun the way we're having fun with sports, make sure you download the Streakers app today.
Come join us on the island.
There's so much you can do on that app.
Cars are about to warm.
Insane. It is insane how much you can do on this app. I swear, Chazzy is blowing my mind in the group chat on the daily. But thank you very much for tuning into the show. I'm Jacob Moore, the self-proclaimed sports analyst. Below me is Chazzy, the CEO. To my side is crazy lunatic Dan Moore. More for your money.
Eating your day check.
He loves to eat.
Nice snack.
But until Thursday,
I feel like we're in the Hollywood Squares.
Yeah, I know.
Chill on the island, and we'll see you Thursday.
Bye-bye.